Happy Friday, kind of. Okay, today is Friday, December 9th, 2022, and very rarely, in fact, I think this is the only time, have I filmed a video on the same day that it's relevant. So today's video is about medical care in Panama and my personal experiences. Look, this is my personal experience. Someone else might have a different experience. I'm not telling you that it's this way every time you go to the doctor in Panama. I'm telling you exactly what I have experienced. So you can draw from those experiences what you will. Today, I'm going to be having surgery at 5 p.m. in Panama City. So I wanted to kind of do a two-part video. So today is going to be everything leading up to today's moment, and then hopefully next week, depending upon how I feel, I'll film everything that happened while I was in the hospital and recovery and aftermath and how all of that went. Okay, so make sure, if you don't want to miss any of that, that you click subscribe and then you hit notify, so you'll be notified as soon as we upload any new content. And do not forget to join the I Go Panama Facebook group, currently over 15,000 members strong, answering and asking questions about everything Panama, whether you already live in Panama or you're thinking of moving to Panama or you just want to come here for a vacation. So all that will be linked below. Okay, let me get into this. And I'm kind of going to preface it by saying this is not the kind of video I like doing. I like doing videos that are very Panama-centric. And obviously my experience is kind of sprinkled in there, but it's more about Panama than it is about me. And today's video is kind of more about me than Panama. And that doesn't make me super comfortable. So I'll probably ramble and you'll comment about it and I'll just delete it and that'll be that. All right, so anyway, what happened was we moved to Panama. If you saw, I think it was last week's video, we moved to Panama 2 years ago in November. So November of 2020, we moved to Panama. And when we were planning on moving here, I had a whole checklist of things that were super important in the place that I was going to live. And I talk about them in the very first videos that we had on this channel. About when I was trying to decide if I wanted to move to Belize, Costa Rica, or Panama. I had this great checklist because I'm a planner and I'm an organizer. And the one thing I didn't have on that checklist, and people even questioned it at the time, 2 years ago, was medical care. Because literally, it just wasn't something on my radar. I mean, let's face it, I'm 19 years old and immortal, right? Okay, not exactly. I have not had medical issues. The last time I was at a hospital was when I had my son, and he'll be 31 in February. So literally, medical, just not on my radar. So we got here in November of 2020, and then I was back in the States in March of 2021 for a month, and during that time, I started having symptoms. Look, I'm not going to get into my specific diagnosis because it really doesn't matter for this channel. It's just about the experiences with the healthcare system. So please don't even ask me about that. I start having symptoms. I'm a little concerned, but it's nothing major. Come back to Panama. Symptoms continue. We go back to the States in July because it's a whole thing. Brian has excellent insurance through the motion picture industry. And so we have great insurance in Los Angeles. We can go to the top hospitals. We don't have to worry about all of that. But there's a process in the United States. So first you have to get like just and I don't even understand all that. First you have to get like the general doctor, and then he has to give you a referral to a specialist, and then you've got to get an appointment with that specialist, which can take weeks or even months. Then they've got to do their thing, and if they have to refer you somewhere else, it starts all over, and it can be quite lengthy. So before we left, I got the appointment with the general practitioner doctor, went to him, told him what was going on. He immediately referred me to a specialist at UCLA Health in Los Angeles, which is one of the top medical facilities in the country, right? So I go into their very nice beautiful, decorated, fancy clinic, and she's examining me and says something you never want to hear your doctor say. I've never seen this before. What do you mean? You're in a city of 8 million people. How could you never have seen whatever it is that I have before? And I'm kind of freaking out. And she's like, okay, we're going to have you come back for more tests. And, that's going to take however long. And I'm like, look, I'm going back to Panama at the end of this month. This has to be fixed by then. So she was very nice and actually got me an appointment the following week. Went in. They did all their tests, all their fancy machines and diagnostics and everything, and came to the conclusion that nothing was wrong. Okay, something is wrong because I'm having symptoms, and something's definitely wrong because you said you had never seen what you saw before. Okay, so at that point I'm just frustrated because, again, I hate the medical system. The only time I ever started going to the doctor was after I married Brian, because I didn't even have insurance up to then. Because again, I'm 19 and immoral, so I don't need such things. So I was just completely frustrated and just like, you know what? It's not so serious that I can't live. So just go about my business. So literally a year passes, and that July was the last time I've been back to the States. So a year passes and the symptoms are progressively getting worse and worse and worse, and getting to the point that they are impacting my quality of life. So there is a doctor on the I Go Panama Facebook group, linked below, Dr. Juan. He has several names. Dr. Juan Amit Picard Carbone, I think, is all of them in the right order. and he and I have become friendly through the group. And I asked him, I said, do you have a referral for like just a general kind of doctor, so I can get kind of like a physical and a checkup in Panama City? And he's like, yes. And so he referred me to a very nice doctor at Pacifica Salud, where he works. And I've got to find her name, and I will link it below. She was great. So why in Panama City? Because Brian and I live in Bocas, and there's not really stellar healthcare in Bocas. Okay. There aren't any super great private clinics. There are no private hospitals. It's all public. And I just don't want to deal with it. And we were going to be in Panama City anyway. So went over, and I had the most shocking doctor's visit I have ever had in my life. She sat there and she talked to me, like face to face, a conversation for probably 30 plus minutes, asking me what was going on and this, that, and the other. She did the entire exam herself. So it wasn't like the nurse or the assistant was doing the blood pressure and the reflex and all the little different things that they do. And then the doctor comes in, scribbles something on a pad, and sends you on your way, like it is in the States. She did everything, and she talked to me. And I explained the symptoms I was having. And I was like, they couldn't diagnose it in the States. And she said, look, it's not always about us knowing exactly what's wrong with you. It's about us trying to improve your quality of life. And I was like, oh my God, what a freaking concept. You mean you don't want to just shove pills down my throat? Oh, which is what UCLA wanted to do. They had no idea what was wrong with me, but they sure did write me a list of prescriptions this long that I didn't take them. Thank goodness, because none of them would have worked. I was shocked. I'm having this conversation with this woman, and she actually cares about my quality of life, not about the clock and how many prescriptions she can write me. So we kind of set up a plan for me to go see a specialist. And there was a specialist for this at Pacifica Salud. Brian and I walked down to his office, and unfortunately, he didn't have any appointments for the time that we were going to be in Panama City. So I went back to Bocas, and I found another one of these specialists that was at Hospital Chiriquí, and made an appointment with her. Let me also say that this doctor spoke perfect English. Every doctor I have dealt with in Panama City speaks perfect English, probably better than me. Okay, so I go to Hospital Chiriquí to this appointment. sorry. Again, I'm not prepared for this. So that first doctor, I think it was $80, was it, Brian? $80 for that, okay? Total out of pocket, no insurance, nothing. $80 cash. Okay, so then we go to Hospital Cherokee and David, go talk to the specialist. She spent over an hour and a half with me. No nurses, no assistants, me and the doctor, talking, listening to every symptom that I had, listening to the timeline, listening to how it was impacting my life, and just gathering all of the information. So she does all of this, then she takes me back to examine me, and she's just flabbergasted. She said, I have no idea how UCLA Health in the States missed this. She was shocked. I don't know how they possibly could have missed this. Now, let me preface this by saying that all the machinery and the diagnostic equipment and everything was all this fancy stuff over there. She had an ultrasound machine and diagnosed it. Okay? And she's like, this is something that we really need to take care of. Okay. So, for all of this, she charged, I think it was $150? $150, an hour and a half for the doctor, all of the tests, everything, the diagnosis, out of pocket, no insurance. All right, so we had a discussion. When I had my blood work done from the previous doctor, I was quite anemic, which had been causing some serious problems that we'll talk about here in a minute. And this doctor said that she was afraid that due to the severity of my anemia, that having my operation she knew I had to have an operation, and having that operation in David might not be the best thing because there was a chance that I might need a lot of blood just due to the situation that I have. And so if I needed a lot of blood, they might not be able to do it as easily in David. So it would probably be better for me to be in Panama City. And she actually had a friend that does the exact operations that I need here in Panama City, and he's at the Panama Clinic. Okay, so we set up an appointment with him. Now, I'm still dealing with the anemia through all of this because I was trying to figure out, I had anemia, yeah, and I needed to be on iron supplements or whatever, but I was really just trying to figure out the whole picture before I started doing anything. So Brian and I came back to Panama City. No, I came by myself, didn't I? Yes, Brian stayed in Boca, and I flew to Panama City and met with this specialist at the Panama Clinic who examined me, talked to me, verified everything that the doctor in David had found, agreed with the diagnosis, agreed with what needed to be done to fix it, operation, and then said that I was definitely not in any type of a situation to have surgery because I was so anemic that I did need a surgery as soon as possible, but the anemia had to be addressed first. So he got me an appointment with his hematologist who, I think it was actually the next day or the day after. I got an appointment with the hematologist, went back. The doctor that is doing my operation, that was $150 for all of that. Then I met with a hematologist who looked at all of my test results, everything from Los Angeles all the way to here, kind of tracing my blood work. And she said we had two options. She was going to put me on an iron supplement to start. And if that did not fix the problem, then I would have to come 2 weeks before my surgery and do intravenous iron. If you have not had anemia, serious anemia, let me tell you, it will mess your life up. There have been days for the past year where I've not been able to get out of bed all day long. No idea why. Fatigued. Days where as soon as I wake up after a full night's sleep, as soon as I'm conscious, my entire body would feel so tired that I couldn't even get up. The brain fog was so severe that there were weeks where I was unable to work. I own an online school. having my brain functioning properly is really important. I could not walk down to my dock and back up my little hill without being completely out of breath, completely fatigued. I mean, my quality of life was going in a downhill trajectory very, very, very quickly. And I mean, to the point where I had myself convinced that I was like at the end of my life because I could barely breathe. I could barely think. I was tired all the time. There were days when I couldn't even get out of bed. It's been horrible, horrible. So I started taking the iron supplements, and it took about 6 weeks, and my life changed. Okay. Now, I was still having the symptoms from the major thing that I'm having an operation for, but I'm telling you, my life changed. I have energy now. I can walk and hike without being completely out of breath. My brain works. I can like sit down and work for 8-10 hours at a stretch, whereas I could barely work 8-10 minutes at a stretch before. That doctor changed my life. Went back just about a week ago, redid my blood because I've been on the iron now for almost 3 months and good to go. That iron, I'm telling you, if you are feeling tired, fatigued, brain foggy, all that, go get your hemoglobin checked because I'm telling you, it affects things you would have no idea. Restless leg syndrome, and now it's gone. Crazy. Okay, so that brings us to today. We're doing everything out of pocket. I did have the option to go back to the United States and do this. I talked to a hospital in Miami. I didn't want to go back to Los Angeles. I talked to a hospital in Miami and tried to get everything arranged with them. The runaround, the incompetency that I dealt with, there is no way I would let those people put a knife on me, even if my insurance would pay for 99.9% of it. No way. So we decided to go ahead and do the operation here. Like I said, we'll be doing it out of pocket. Next week, I will have all of the pricing information for what this cost me. Oh, the hematologist cost me, I think, like $60 for the meeting with the hematologist. But I'll have all the operation, all the hospital costs, all of that. So I go in today at 5 o'clock. Have my operation. I should be out of the hospital tomorrow if everything goes well. And then just recovery for around 8 weeks, somewhere in there, 6 to 8 weeks. So it's a little nerve-wracking because, like I said, I've not really had to deal with the medical system before. So it's all brand new to me. But I really do have a lot of confidence in my doctor at Panama Clinic, and with the care that I've received so far, I'm very, very happy. And like I said, I would rather have it here in Panama than I would in the United States, even though insurance would cover more of it there. So that's kind of my very long-winded story of the past year and a half-ish up to this point. And then hopefully I'll be here next week to tell you the rest of the story. If there's no video next week and this channel goes silent, you'll know. You'll know that something bad happened. But I'm confident in what's going on. All right, I got to get ready for this. I've got to be at the hospital at 3, which is in about another 4 hours. Okay, so until then, hopefully I will see you next week.